the first thing I'm going to do is if the microphone breaks while I'm here that I'm wearing it, I'm sorry, I break technology by touching it. That's my disclaimer. So I would like to tell you about my trip to my vacation from Spain. See, I studied abroad in Spain for 5 weeks 2 summers ago, and we had a week off from classes. So naturally, while you're in a new country, you need to vacation from that country. And the 2 things I need you to remember is, first, you have a problem, and then you have a resolution, and then you have another problem, and then you have another resolution, until finally you get back home and there can't possibly be any more problems. So, our first trip was to Italy. We get on the plane, it takes off on time, the trip through customs was not a problem, and then the plane doesn't take off for 6 hours. Because apparently, the French had decided that they were going to have an airline strike. So we couldn't fly past the French waters to get to Italy. So we just sat on this plane until they could find clearance. So the plane takes off, we arrive in Italy, and supposedly we were going to have 12 hours to spend the whole day in Rome, to explore Rome, and then leave, and then we didn't have to spend money on a hotel in Rome. We just had to spend money on a hotel in France. Well, now we had 6 hours instead of 12 to explore all of Rome. So the first thing we do is we get in a taxi, we take the taxi straight to the Colosseum. We spend all day in the Colosseum, it's wonderful. We go to the Vatican, we have pizza. The best pizza you can have is in the city of Rome, in the back corner place, away from the tourists. Then we get to the train station, and I don't know if any of you have been to Europe, I think some of you have, but the way they do train systems in Italy, it's really confusing because I can read Italian, that's not a problem. I speak Spanish, Italian's very similar, but the times for when you leave is not what you're looking for there. You're looking for the time that the train is going to arrive at your station. So we missed the train that's supposed to take us to the airport to leave Italy. But it's okay. This nice gentleman helps us get on the next train. We make it on time. Within 10 minutes, we get through the security check. Everything's all right. And then they tell us, we're sorry. There is no planes to Paris right now. They're having an airline strike. So now we're stuck in Italy and we're not going anywhere. So now I have to call a bunch of hotels to try to find a reservation because we're not leaving Dublin anytime soon. So I managed to get them to speak enough Spanish and English with their Italian for us to communicate. It went something like, ¿Tú hablas español? No. ¿Tú comprendes español? A little bit. Do you speak English? A little bit. But eventually, we find someone who speaks fluent Spanish. I talk to them, I make the reservation for the hotel, we get a taxi to the hotel, and once we're there, we find a computer, and we cancel the next flight out of France that was supposed to take us to Ireland. That was our next destination because we couldn't find a train to get us to Paris. So that had to be canceled as well. So we also had to cancel the hotels there. So we did that on the computer because I don't speak French. I can understand it, but I don't speak French. So we finally schedule our planes. We get there the next morning, right on time, no problems. We get through, we're on the plane, it takes off right away, and Ireland was wonderful. There was nothing wrong with Ireland. We went there, I went on a pub crawl for my 21st birthday. I didn't drink, it was wonderful. They can now brag about that. The next day, I go on a tour, everything's wonderful. We leave on time to the airport 3 days later, and it's all just perfect. I thought there's not gonna be any more problems. So we arrive back to Spain to tour Toledo. because I have an obsession with swords. And if you're in Spain and you have an obsession with swords, you need to visit the city of Toledo. That's just what you have to do. So we get there, we arrive at the hotel, it's not a problem. We go around the city, we buy all these swords, it's wonderful. We leave, we go to take our train, we go to the transfer station to get on our next train, and we're late because the train gets delayed by 1 minute and our train had left. So now we have to find another train back home. So we talk to the people. 20 minutes later, there's another train. We go on the train, but this train, instead of taking the 30 minutes to go back to our house, it took an hour because it needed to detour everywhere in Spain. So we get back to Valladolid. That's the city I'm staying at. We go home. Everything's finally okay. You know, we just have all our luggage, 6 swords on my back. I arrive, and the first thing my Spanish mother does is ask me, ¿Cómo fuiste tu viaje? That means, how was your trip? Thank you.